day 27. It's close to 1 month. The death toll on the Gaza side, we are told, according to authorities in the Gaza Strip, has crossed 9,000. Overall, more than 10,000 people have been killed. A very large number of people are injured. But Israeli forces say it's the Hamas that's holding the people in the Gaza Strip hostage. The bombardment has intensified along different parts of the Gaza Strip, in fact, including in the southern part of the Gaza Strip, not far from Khan Yunis. I'll get you more on that story, but first, this report.
It was a night of fierce fighting in Gaza, as Israeli tanks, bulldozers, infantrymen and combat units moved deeper into enemy territory. They met with resistance from Hamas fighters who fired anti-tank missiles and hurled grenades at them. The Israeli forces retaliated with aerial strikes and artillery and tank fire. Israeli Defense Forces claimed dozens of Hamas fighters were killed in the attacks. Meanwhile, bombardment of Gaza Strip has intensified as IDF attacks the enclave from the ground, air and sea.
Our forces continue to significantly expand their ground operations in the northern Gaza Strip. Overnight, forces engaged in significant battles, including a multi-story building in Jabalia area. Terrorists fired at our forces in the area. Hamas used that structure, like many others, as a sanctuary. In this case, talking about the deliberate use of civilian structure near a school, a medical center, and government offices.
The Israel Air Force on Thursday claimed to have eliminated Muhammad Azzar, the head of Hamas's anti-tank system. Gaza City, the largest population center, will soon bear the brunt of the Israeli onslaught as they move southwards. Meanwhile, Israeli army recovered a large cache of weapons and supplies that were allegedly used in the October 7th terror attack. The weapons seized included thermobaric grenades and rockets. Bureau Report, India Today.
And I quickly want to cut across to India Today's Akshita Nandagopal, who tells us more about how these operations are proceeding and the reactions that are coming in.
Let's get you all the updates you need to know on the Israel-Hamas conflict, or rather the West Asia conflict, as the theatre of war is expanding. Before we get you all the latest on geopolitics surrounding this conflict, let's tell you what's happening right now in Israel and, importantly, in Gaza as well. As you know, Israeli ground troops have advanced into Gaza City. So the ground invasion is happening. Now, as a course of that, we're also seeing that Israeli soldiers have suffered, have also been casualties of this war. 15 Israeli soldiers have died amid fierce fighting with Hamas terrorists. US and Arab nations are now stepping in repeatedly to try and intensify negotiations, diplomatic efforts to end the suffering, to end this conflict and find middle ground. But it's difficult. In Gaza, the situation is extremely grave. When we talk about the humanitarian crisis, imagine this, the only cancer hospital in Gaza is also running out of fuel. But there's hope in the sense that the Rafah border has opened up for the first time. Wounded people are being allowed out, so are foreign nationals. Several wounded Palestinians are now getting out and getting help. Let's talk about the geopolitical scene that I was referring to earlier. United States, an ally of Israel, big role in this conflict. Over 1,000 US citizens who were in Gaza are being allowed to exit via the Rafah border crossing. US Vice President Kamala Harris also met with UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who, remember, has visited Israel and expressed his solidarity with Israel's fight against Hamas. Now, let's also talk about Israel's neighbors and their role. Jordan, for example. Jordan has recalled its ambassador from Israel as tensions continue to mount between Israel and all of its neighbors. As far as Egypt is concerned, the Rafah border crossing, that's the only way citizens can get out of Gaza. And Egypt is saying we're doing everything we can to ensure that not just wounded Palestinians, but foreign nationals also get out. About 7,000 of them are being evacuated from Gaza. And that's where also another geopolitical angle comes in. Australia. Several Australian nationals were stuck in Gaza. 20 of them have managed to get out using the Rafah border crossing. So they're out of Gaza right now. And that's another important highlight because several countries are focusing on ensuring that their foreign nationals stuck in Gaza are out as soon as possible.
Let me once again bring in Lidar Gravi-Lazi joining me on the broadcast. Lidar, there is global pressure now on Israel to permit food, water, medicines and fuel inside the Gaza Strip. When it comes to food, water and medicines in larger quantity and fuel, will Israel relent? What's your understanding? Or will Israel insist on the release of all hostages first?
So first of all, I'll say that there's been an increase in the number of aid convoys and trucks that have gone into Gaza through the Rafah crossing in Egypt, bringing food, water, and medical supplies. With regards to fuel, Israel has so far refused to provide fuel because, as we know, Hamas often steals this fuel and takes it for themselves to fuel their missiles and terror operations. Today, just a few hours ago, IDF Chief of Staff Herzi Halevi said that Israel is following the situation. It understands that many of the hospitals are set to run out of fuel and said that Israel is considering allowing fuel into Gaza and that Israel will ensure that the fuel reaches the hospitals and is not taken away by Hamas. And I do want to just point out that Hamas is sitting on troves of food and water and supplies and medical supplies and fuel, but it is refusing to share this with the people of Gaza, using it instead for its terror operations. And so it does fall on Israel, even though it's at war with Hamas, to provide humanitarian aid to the Palestinian people. It's allowing humanitarian convoy trucks to go in through Egypt, and today said we'll consider also supplying fuel.
Okay.